Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. I hope you are doing great. In this video, I'm going to solve the next problem in the series 30 Days of JavaScript. Execute asynchronous functions in parallel. So this is the last problem in the section promises on time. Let's get started with this problem. Given array of asynchronous functions. So this is the input argument and we have to return a promise. Return type should be a promise and each function in the array accepts no arguments and returns a promise. So in the examples, you can see these are the array of functions and each function takes no arguments and returns a promise. All promises should be executed in parallel. So this is the condition here. So we have to make sure all the promises gets executed in parallel. So let us see the conditions for a success case. So when we are supposed to resolve, what we need to consider. So when all promises returned from functions were resolved successfully in parallel. So what they mean, so when all the promises completes successfully, so what we are supposed to do, the resolve value of the promise should be array of resolved values of the promise in the same order as they were in the functions. Okay, so you can observe if you take this third example, so these are the three functions which are returning promises and return type of the promise, so it should be array of the resolved values in the same order 4, 10, 16. This is what they are saying. Rejection case, when any of the promise returns the function were rejected, so we should reject with the reason of the first rejection. So we should not use the built-in function that is promise.all. So this problem can be solved by using the built-in function, but we should not use that built-in function. So this will take array of promises and returns array of results. Okay, let us solve the problem. Here I will take a variable and assign an empty array. So I will store all the results in this array, and I will also create one more variable like a counter to keep track of how many promises got completed. And I will also have one more variable is rejected, and I will assign to false initially. So I will explain the use of it. Before doing this, we should return the promise. Inside promise only, we should implement the logic. Create a promise. This takes resolve and reject parameters. Inside it, let's implement the logic. So we have an array of functions available. So we have to loop over. Otherwise, we cannot call the promises. I will make use of for each loop. So from the array functions, let's call for each loop. Okay, this takes a callback function inside it. So it will have the function, the iterative item, and we can also have the index of it. Let's make use of it. So we have the function here. The return value of this will be a promise. When you call the function, it returns a promise. So to handle the promise, we can make use of dot then. And if it ends up with rejection, so let's handle that using the catch. Okay, so it takes error. Okay, so let's start with the positive scenario. Let's say if you have this promise results with result. Once we have the result, so here I will add to the array by using this. So we have the index, right? So I will use this in order to add to this array. So this result value we can simply add. And once this is done, we can increment the counter to indicate that we have completed that particular promise. So next thing is, so we need to have an if condition here. Let's take this example. Once all these three promises completed, so we have the counter value to 3, right, for these three functions. After completion of these three, then only we should resolve with the result. If you have two functions completed, we should not immediately resolve. So we have to ensure all the functions gets executed. So for this case, I will have an if condition here. If completed counter equals to length of the functions. Okay, so when this happens, so we can resolve with the results we have. So that array which contains the array of resulted values. This is fine. So now let's talk about the rejection case. Let's say one of the promise ends up with the rejection. We can assign is rejected value to true and simply reject with this error reason. But here I want a condition that when first time you have encountered this rejection, so the value of this we have is a false, right? I will have an if condition here. if it's not rejected, then only I wanted to have this. So when first time we execute this catch block, so we will have falsy value. So this condition evaluates to true, then only I want to reject. So for the first rejection only. So for the second time, maybe if the another promise ends up with rejection, I don't want to reject again. So to prevent that, so after the first rejection, so we have to prevent further promise executions. In here in the then block, let's say second one ends up with the rejection. Now we don't want third promise to evaluate. For this reason, so we can have a if condition. If we have a rejected value to true, then we should return simply like this. So don't want to execute further. So this is the use case of having this variable. So to prevent further executions, once we have first rejection, let's say if all the promises ends up with the success case, we will execute this properly, and once we have all the operations completed, we will successfully resolve with the results. So let's run the problem. All right, let's submit. So the problem gets submitted and accepted. That's all about this video. I hope you find this video helpful. Make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more content. I will see you in the next video. Until then, take care. Bye.